So good afternoon, class. Today I want us to focus on the topic known as the function and the standard form. And I'm going to proceed from where you had left the other day with Mr. Namaswa. So my name is Mr. Kemani. I'll be taking over from him. And I hope that you're going to enjoy this lesson. So the topic which we are dealing with this is chapter 5. And the heading of it is the function and standard form. So the subtopic is the standard form. By the end of this lesson, there are some few concepts that I will want you to be able to understand. One is to write the number that is greater than 10 in standard form. Then point number 2, what is going out to emphasize, is how to write a number that is less than 1 in the standard form. So the technicality is the one that you had used when we are writing a number that is greater than 10 into standard form. First of all, we agreed, just to remind you, what did we say about the standard form? We agreed that a standard form is a number is said to be in standard form if it is expressed in the form of the a times 10 to power n. That is the concept which I'm going to emphasize. So when we say a times 10, a times 10 to power n, then there is a condition we are giving that this one must be within the range. It must be greater or equal to, it must be less or equal to 1, but it must be less than 10. So meaning 1 is included, but 10 is not included. So your number that you're going to write it in that format, if 1 is there, so your range should be between 1 and 10, but 10 should not be included. That's why I'm saying a should be less or equal to 1, but it should be less than 10. Then again, we are talking about n. N should be a what? N should be an integer. So what is an integer from our previous topic? We have known that an integer is a whole number which is positive or negative. So meaning the n can take the position of an integer there. N is an integer. So meaning it must, first of all, you cannot have a decimal number there. It must be a whole number. Then that n can either be positive or negative. Then the other thing is that the range must be between 1 and 10. So those are the two conditions that we'll be emphasizing on what we are going to deal with. So that's why I'm giving you the definition of an integer. And you have said that an integer is the positive or negative whole number. There must be a whole number there. Then when it comes to the case of the examples, I want us to focus on the examples there. So the first two, I hope you had already tackled them. So mine will be emphasis on question number C. But just to remind you what we agreed. If I tell you, write the following numbers in standard form. So if we come to case of 36, what is the step we said yesterday? We have agreed that this number must be between 1 and 10. So I want to emphasize of one thing. If the number is greater than 10, then we need to move backward for it to be between 1 and 10. So we move one step there. So this one is going to be written as 3.6, then times 10. How many steps have you gone backward? 1. Moving backward should be positive. So that is 3.6 times 10 to power 1. So moving backward will be positive. So yours is only to count the number of the step, the number of steps. Number of steps, you move backward. The number of the steps, you move backward. That is the technicality there that I'm going to be emphasizing there. So if a number is greater than 10, then you should be able to calculate the number of the steps that you're going to move forward or that you're going to move backward in order for it to be within the range of 1 and 10. So in our case 36, we're only moving one step backward. That's why we are achieving our number as 3.6, then our n becomes 1. If I may take my example number 2 again, that is B. We are having 576. So in the case of the 576 again, 576 is greater than 10. So then, how many steps are we going to move backward in order for us to be able to be within the range of between 1 and 10? Again, it's going to be step 1, then step 2. So you are moving 2 steps. So ideally is going to be 5.76 times 10 to the number of the steps that you have moved backward. It was there, number 1, and then here you have number 2. So it is that's why you're having 5.76, then times 10 to the number of the step. So times 2 again there. So the issue here is mastering the concept that if a number is greater than 10, for you to achieve the standard form, you need to move backward. And once you move the backward, you count the number of the steps, and then in this format, then our answer is going to be the n is achieved by the number of the step. So in standard form, 36 is 3.6 times 10 to the power 1. Then 576 is going to be 5.76 times 10 to the power 2. So what will happen if the number is not greater than 10, but it is within the range of 1 and 10? So, like for example, let's go to number C. Let's say if I tell you to write now a number like 7. So what is going to be the standard form? It will not be 7, but it's going to be 7 times 10 to power 0 there. So this is because there are no steps that you are required to move either forward or backward, because already 7 is within the range of between 1 and 10. So if a number is between 1 and 10, then our n, which we said is integer, is going to be 0. And the idea is because of what we mentioned, that any number raised to power 0 is going to be 1. So 10 to the power 0 is 1. So same case like 7 times 1, which is going to be 7. So same case is going to be when we focus with maybe a number like 5.378. So I tell you to write in standard form. Same again is going to be 5.378 times 10 to the power 0. And the reason is because 5.37 is within that range of between 1 and 10. So these are only two concepts which I've introduced it to you. Yeah. If the number is between 1 and 10, you don't need to move backward. Just only need to say that your n is going to be 0. This is what you had learned on the other time. When a number is greater than 10, you need to be able to count the number of the step that you are moving backward. So my essence of today, the lesson of today, I want us to focus now if a number is going to be less than 1. How are you going to write in standard form? And in my screen there, you can be able to see after 576, we have 0.052. So that is going to be my mission there. So make sure that you have the book there. So our lesson now, continuing from where you left yesterday. So I want to write the number 0.0 then 52 in standard form. So in this case, we are realizing that our number is less than 1. So this time, we will focus now on the case of moving forward until we achieve the number that is between 1 and 10. So when you move the forward, you count the number of the step again. You count the number of steps. And once you count the number of the steps, then you introduce your n is going to be negative. What do I mean in this case? For us to be able to achieve 0.0052, to be within range of 10, 1 to 10, we need to move how many steps? From here we go 1, and then we move another one there. So there's this step 1, and there's this step 2. So moving forward is achieving a negative sign. Moving backward, we were achieving a positive sign for the n. But if you move forward, you achieve a negative value for n. So in our case, this one is going to be 5.2 times 10. How many steps have you moved forward? 2. But now, negative. So that is going to be the answer for this number which is there. So it is what we were doing yesterday, the other lesson, but now it is the reverse. It is now the reverse. The other one, we were moving backward for our a to be between 1 and 10. But for today, we are moving forward for us to achieve a number between 1 and 10. So when you move forward, the value of n becomes negative. When you move backward, the value of n becomes positive. When you don't move, the value of n becomes 0. So hopefully you have understand the concept of about moving backward and forward. And the reason we are saying that you move backward and forward is in order to attain a range of our A, which we have emphasized that it must be between 1 and 10, with the 10 not being included. So that's the concept that I want you to be able to understand about it. So those here are the solution. That is the solution for part A, which was 3.6 times 10 to the power 1. That one you have already calculated there. Then number 2, again, you can see what you have said is 5.6 times 10 to the power 2. And then finally is the lesson which I have indicated there. That is going to be 5.2 times 10 to the power negative 2. So there is a time when the value of n is positive. There is a time when the value of n is negative, and there is a time when the value of n is 0. For it to be a positive integer, the number that you are writing in standard form must be greater than 10. For it to be negative, the number that you are writing in standard form must be less than 1. And then for it to be 0, then the number that you are writing in standard form must be between 1 and 10. So in your exercise book, in your textbook, page 117, there are some further examples which are written there. So those examples, you're going to check the working of them, because I want us to go to the exercise and I try to assist you. But for those questions that are there on page 117, you can check on your course book. That is course book for year 10 and 11. There is page 117. There are further examples which have been explained. Like now number 1 and 2. Number 1 and 2, the questions have been done for you there. So I want us to focus on what you're going to do on number 3. So when you go to number 3, that's where number 1 and 2 you're going to check on the working, because it's the same like what you have done here. Well, I can take you through again. Check on number 1. So same case number 1 there. It is 0.004. So in standard form, you need again to identify this number is less than 1. So how many steps are we going to move forward? Again, in simple case for us to achieve that. So it's going to be number 1, then number 2, and then number 3. So this one is going to be 4.0 times 10 to power negative 3. Then 3 is the number of the steps that you are moving forward. Step 1, then step 2, step 3. That's why you're achieving the 3. Then the negative is because you're moving forward. Same case to number 2. The number 2, you can be able to see there what you're having there in number 2. It is 0 point. Have how many zeros there? That is, zeros are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 6 zeros there. And then you have your 3, 4. So this number again is less than 1. So what you need to be able to do is to be able to come up with the concept of achieving a number between 1 and 10. Again, count the number of the steps from here. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So once you reach there, it is now 3.4 times 10 to power negative 7. The 7 is for the steps that you're moving forward, and then is the number of the steps that you're moving forward, and then the negative is because of that movement on the positive direction on this side. When we come to number 3, let's emphasize on the case number 3, where we are having now to use another concept apart from the one which I'm explaining to you. So you can be able to see there, you need to be able to work out a certain solution there. So number 3, we have 2 times 10 to the power negative 3, then multiply by 3 times 10 to the power negative 7. So this one, the numbers are already on standard form, and you need to give your final answer in standard form, and then you have a multiplication sign. So this is now the hint that I want you to be able to check on it. Those are the 2 and B's that I want you to be able to be following up. Hint number 1, you simplify by gathering the like sum together. Once you do that, then number B, you use the laws of the indices. Remember we said we have the 3 laws of the indices. Multiplication which goes with the addition of the powers. Then we have division, which goes with the difference of the powers. And then we have now the product of the powers. So from my that examples, I want us to be able to see what is happening there in number 3. So the question is here. We have said that step number 1, you simplify by gathering the like terms together. So in these cases, the like terms are those numbers that do not have the power. So in our concept 1 here, we have this one is going to be 2 and then times 3. That one we group it as group 1. Then you go to the next group where they are having the powers. This is going to be 10 to power negative 3 times 10 to power negative 7 there. Can't see that. So this is the first simplification. That is step number 1. You have simplified your concept by gathering the like term together. Then on this part 1, you just simplify it. 2 times 3. This one is going to give us what? 6. Then multiply by. When you reach 2 here, on this case, you apply the laws of the indices. So the laws of indices was telling us you have to check the sign of separation. If the bases are the same, this one is 10 and this one is 10. So the laws of the indices, you cannot apply it if the bases are not the same. So in our case, the bases are the same. They are 10. So you're good to go to apply my concept B, which is the use of the laws of the indices. Then, if the sign of the separation is multiplication, what are you supposed to do to the powers? So we said, if the sign of separation is multiplication, then you need to add the powers. So in our case, it's going to be 10 to power negative 3 plus negative 7. Again here there is a way said, if this one is positive and negative when they follow one another, there is a certain concept we agreed that positive there, the positive and negative are following each other, then the final one should be a negative. If it is positive, negative and positive again, we get a negative. If it is positive and positive, we get a positive. If it is a negative and a negative, we get a positive. So this concept, we did it on terms of the integer there. So due to that case, plus and minus is going to give us a minus. So we reduce this to 6, multiply by 10 to power negative 3 minus 7. Again there. Then from there, we finally 6 times 10 to power negative 3 minus 7. Minus 3 minus 7. That one gives us minus 10. And you can now see that your final answer is going to be here. So that concept is one that is going to be able to be applied during the exam. So that concept you need to be able to understand it very well. Now, for your case of the assignment, I'm going to give you still on your course book. That is going to be on page 117, exercise 5.3. So those are there. We have the 7 questions. So for the time being, I'm going to solve one of them, and then the others is going to be the assignment there. So just open your course book there. In your course book there, you can be able to see exercise 5.3. I'll be doing some of the question there. Then the other one you're going to do as an assignment. So number 1D, you're being told light that number in standard form. That one is what you have already done. That is number 1D. So number 1D is for you to be able to count the number of the steps, and you can see we're having how many zeros? That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you have 5, 6, 4. Just we agreed this number is less than 1. Count the number of the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one become 5.64 times 10 to power negative 8. 8 is the number of the step, then negative is the direction. Then before I give you the assignment, there is this now, number 2. You can see now in number 2C, number 2C, I've given you the number in standard form, and then I have told you to write it as an ordinary number. So same case you have said, this is 2.08 times 10 to power negative 7. What is the meaning of this one? The meaning of this one is that from where 2 is, you move how many steps? For you to achieve this number, you had moved forward. That's why it is negative. Now you do the reverse of it. You go backward 7 steps, indicating the direction. So in our case from here, it's going to be 2.08, then you move 7 steps. So starting with this one, 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0.0. So the answer reduces to 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is 0, another 0, another one, another one, another one, another one, and then your 208. Yeah. So this is the number that you're talking about. So this is now the ordinary number. And you can see, for us to get in standard form, it is the step that you have indicated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there. So there's a time I can give you the number, I tell you to write it in standard form. Then there is a time I can give you the number in standard form, I tell you to write it as an ordinary number. So that is the concept of today's lesson. Hopefully you have understood. So what is remaining is for you to continue with the other assignment. So I'll assign you the question. So number 3, you're going to do number 3D. So let me give you this one concept there, the assignment. You're going to do number assignment you try on that book, page 117. That one is going to be number 3D, number 4E, then number 5, then number 6, and number 7 there. So those are the questions that I want you to do. So in the next lesson, I'll require you to ask about those answers as we proceed to the next concept. Otherwise, do enjoy your next lesson and do have a good day. Thank you.